Enterprises that use a self-service model for fulfillment of requests can increase satisfaction levels of their employees by decreasing both the time for fulfillment as well as the human bandwidth needed to service such requests. Today, we are going to see how a common use case like onboarding a user into the organization can be automated using AWS Service Catalog and RL Catalyst bots. A user or a system like Workday or Taleo initiates a request to onboard one or more users into the organization. Service requests are created in an ITSM tool like ServiceNow. The service requests are fulfilled using a combination of RL Catalyst bots and the AWS Service Catalog. The users are notified when provisioning is completed. Change request tickets are created to update the CMDB, and incident tickets are created on failure of any step above. This diagram shows the execution flow for the use case. Note that tickets are created and updated during the entire process to provide traceability and audit compliance. An HR system like Workday or Taleo generates a dump file of users to be onboarded in an S3 bucket, which is monitored by a bot. When the bot detects a new file, it parses the contents and creates the service requests for each user. The input file is located in an S3 bucket, and the bot can be scheduled to run periodically to monitor the S3 bucket. As you can see, the bot has created a service request for each user using the details in the CSV file. The service request then goes through an approval process before being forwarded to a bot for fulfillment. We just saw how the process can be initiated on a system event. Now let's see how the same request can be initiated by a user like an HR representative. The HR representative logs into the ServiceNow service portal and fills out a form to initiate the user onboarding process. The form has all the fields that are required as input to the bots. This includes the first name, the last name, the email ID, and the initial password for the user. Once the service request is entered into the system, it goes through an approval process. Once approved, the request is forwarded to a bot for fulfillment. We have now seen how the process can be initiated by a system or a user. Let's now take a look at how an RL Catalyst bot fulfills the request. The first step in the fulfillment of this use case is to create the user in AWS Simple AD service. The Create User in Simple AD bot uses the AWS API to create the user. The username created is then used in subsequent steps. The first step of creating the user in Simple AD service is now completed. Once the user is created in AD, the next step is to provision an AWS workspace for the user. The Provision AWS Workspace bot uses the AWS Service Catalog API to initiate this step. The username generated by the previous bot is passed to this bot as an input parameter. RL Catalyst bots use the AWS Service Catalog API for any resources that can be so provisioned. AWS Workspace is one of the portfolio items created under AWS Service Catalog. So the bot is able to order this item using the AWS Service Catalog API. Using the Service Catalog API ensures that the resources created are in conformance with the policies that have been set up by the AWS administrator in your organization. As we can see in the AWS console, the AWS workspace provisioning has been initiated. The provisioning can take some time to complete, and we use another bot to monitor the completion of this step before sending out a notification email to the user with all the details he needs to log in into the newly created workspace, including the initial password and the registration code. At each stage, the appropriate records are updated into ServiceNow. As we can see, the workspace provisioning is now complete and the status shows as available. Let's check for the notification email in our mailbox. The user will use these details to log into the workspace. We have now created the user, provisioned the workspace, and also notified the user. Let's log in to the newly created workspace using the details sent out in the email notification. In ServiceNow, we can see that all the steps of the workflow have been completed and the ticket has been closed. Let's take a look at the service request. We can see that it has been marked as closed. Once the service request has been successfully completed, the next step is to create a change request so that the newly created workspace can be added as a CI to the CMDB. As we can see, a CR associated to the catalog task has been created. We have now completed all the steps to successfully onboard a user into the organization using AWS Service Catalog and RL Catalyst bot.